With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Survivor 46 is here, and so is On Fire, the only official Survivor podcast, and we have a twist this season. The winner of Survivor 45, Dee Valladares, will be joining us every week.
We're going behind the scenes of the biggest moments, the how and the why things happen, and the strategy and analysis you can only get from someone like me, a Survivor winner.
Listen to On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Stephen Krysick of the Lotto Jumbo team as well, and Adam Yates of Orica Greenedge, and Anthony Turgis, who had a little bit of a tumble as he headed in towards Scarborough but stayed on his bike. Great Britain have won their first medal. It was Adam Peaty in a world record time, breaking his own world record. She punches the air and she crosses that blue finish line. The world champion of 12 months ago, who finished second here last time around, has won it.
The athlete's village is not a place for fighting. I've never heard that ever in Olympic and Paralympic history.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast, covering the games all the time, rather than once every 4 years. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and coming up in this episode, we're joined by a 3-time European Gymnastics champion after a table-topping performance in Turkey by the Brits.
And I'm back in Sheffield, swapping swimmers for snooker players.
We'll also have our news from the games, judo, obviously, boxing, swimming, cycling, canoeing, obviously, and the not-so-small matter of the future of British athletics.
And as ever, you can let us know what you think. Get in touch anytime. Find us on Twitter at anythingbutf. I'm just looking at our Twitter feed. We've just tweeted some pictures of Mo Farah. You can message us on Instagram or on Facebook. You could drop us an email, anythingbutfooty@gmail.com. And you can find us online where you can read our blogs and listen to the work that we do. That is at anythingbutfooty.com. So let's start with gymnastics. The European Championships have just finished in Turkey. Great Britain topped the overall medals table with 4 golds, 4 silvers and 1 bronze medal. So congratulations to everyone at British Gymnastics. The bronze was in the men's team event. Silver medals, 2 of them for Jake Jarman, 1 in the all-around and 1 in the vault. Also a silver for Becky Downey, a veteran now in gymnastics terms, on the uneven bars, and a silver for Alice Kinsella on the floor. The gold medal, a bit of a surprise, a new name for many people, I think, in the men's gymnastics team. Luke Whitehouse won a gold on the floor. And the women's team, which included 1 member who also won 2 individual golds on the floor and in the all-around.
Hi, I'm Jessica Gadirova, an Olympic medalist, world champion, and 5-time European champion.
Jessica, have you come back down to earth after all of your hard work at the most recent European Championships where you won 3 gold medals?
Yes, I definitely have, as I'm back home with my friends and family, and I'm back in school as well.
So obviously, talk us through competition. I mean, to win 3 golds, you must go there obviously with that ambition to do as well as you possibly can. But to have won the 3 and brought the 3 back, how did that feel?
It's still so crazy to hear, and just it was such an amazing time to perform out there, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to compete there.
Is the team medal particularly special for you because it's you and your colleagues and you're such a close-knit group of friends as well?
Yeah, like you said, we're a very close network of friends, and the team works so hard with one another, especially like the coaching team as well and all the members of staff they bring along. So we are definitely working really, really hard, and it's shown that it's definitely paying off.
And talk us through that team final then. How did it kind of unfold from your point of view?
In the team final, we kind of just enjoyed the competition. We didn't really focus on where we were placing and just put the best performance we did out there. And as soon as we kind of finished bars, then we had that realization that, oh wow, we actually have the chance to win the gold. And once our name came up there, we were literally so in shock.
And to be the all-around champion, that means you're the best gymnast in Europe. I mean, that must be something that you hold in real high sort of value.
Yeah, I definitely knew I had the chance of doing that due to becoming third in the world in October time. So I did feel a little bit of pressure to be like, okay, I'm third in the world, and the people who are on the podium that beat me weren't in Europe. So technically, I was the best in Europe at that time. So I did have a little bit of pressure going into it, obviously achieve it again, and I did qualify in first. So I tried not to put the pressure on me and enjoyed the competition. And as soon as I finished my last performance, I definitely had a feeling there was a chance, but anything could have happened, and I'm so grateful.
Talk to me about the beam, because I know it's a piece of apparatus that you have a love-hate relationship with. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I do. Beam is quite a difficult piece due to you have to control your nerves a lot so you don't become too shaky or too wobbly on the beam, as you are flipping in a 10 centimetre plank of wood. So definitely try to work really hard on calming my nerves and performing much better on it. But it's definitely paying off at the moment. But unfortunately, I did take a fall on the beam final, as I did try to go for the stick landing on the dismount, but unfortunately it wasn't that time.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned that finished seventh in the beam, but then you came back obviously to win the floor and another gold. Is it difficult to, having won the all around, won the team event, to then refocus for that one as well? Because you must at that point be thinking, this is a really good week for me.
Definitely, I always have that in the back of my mind. Like I say in other interviews, I do go into each competition trying to forget what I have achieved. So I treat it as a new competition and a new opportunity to gain more success. So yeah, and just enjoy being in the podium and enjoy being in the arena and doing my gymnastics for everyone to watch.
And talk to me about how near or far you think you are, and how near or far you think the British team is from maybe overtaking the Americans, who obviously weren't at the European Championships, but you will come up against in Paris.
Yes, we are definitely improving our A game and being as a team and individuals. So we're just going to keep working as hard as we can and finding where we can save points or where we can improve to catch up the Americans.
I speak to a lot of people in your position, elite sports men and women, coming back from competitions and obviously buzzing over the victory. Do you really enjoy what you do?
Yes, I definitely really enjoy what I do because I love the lifestyle that I do, and you have to love it if you want to achieve great things. And I love what I do, and I just get an amazing feeling when I perform and do my gymnastics. So yeah, I just generally love it so much, and that's why I do it.
But do you feel the pressure?
Yes, of course I feel the pressure, but I know that if I do allow the pressure to overtake, then I'm not going to succeed as well as I want to. So I just try to let go of the pressure and just speak to my coaches and everyone around me just to make me feel better, and yeah, just to let it all go so I'm not worried about it too much and I can focus on the new goal.
And it must help, I guess, having obviously your sister there, and as you said, such a close-knit team as well. Top of the medal table overall at the European Championships as well.
Yeah, I didn't have my twin sister at this year's European Championships, but I knew she was at home supporting me 100%, and she just wanted the best for me, and I felt her in my heart when I was performing.
And how good is it to be part of British Gymnastics at the minute, which is having this amazing kind of period of success? I'm of a vintage and age where when you watch gymnastics in this country, you watched other countries. You didn't watch British gymnasts winning medals. It just didn't happen. But now you go to these championships, you're expected to win medals.
yeah, I'm just so proud of this team. Everyone's working so hard, and to see not only me but other gymnasts win medals as well is just incredible and show how strong British gymnastics is now, and we just want to thrive off it.
And you came back to another title, British Gymnastics Olympic Athlete of the Year, you and Gianni Regini Moran. Congratulations on that. What does that mean to you?
Thank you. That means a lot, as just I'm getting more recognised for the work that I'm doing, and it definitely shows that the work is paying off. And yeah, it's just a nice feeling to know that I'm inspiring the young generation at the same time.
And how much is Paris on your mind? People are beginning to talk about it. It's just over a year away. We've had the whole 500 days to go. Are you allowing yourself to think about that, or is it just what lesson you've got at 11 o'clock this morning?
It's always in the back of my mind knowing that Paris is quite close, but I'm just going each day as it comes and focusing on the next two major championships that are going to come, as they're definitely going to help up to the lead up to the Olympics.
Well, it's lovely to chat with you today, and congratulations again on all your success.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant interview with Jessica Gadirova, Michael. What I loved about it was the fact she was back at school. We kind of forget that she's 18 years of age, so coming to the end of her A levels. And I loved the where she said thank you for saying that she was an inspiration, because I think that means so much to these young athletes that they want to do that. And I thought your summary before the interview was spot on. Luke Whitehouse, he said, I came here to enjoy myself and gain experience. And he walked away as European floor champion with a gold medal in his pocket. When all the talk before this was about Max Whitlock pulling out through injury, it shows the strength and depth for British gymnastics.
Yeah, and I said it to Jessica there, for people like you and I, our vintage, growing up watching gymnastics, it was a sport that other countries did, other nations did, and they did very well. But we never had a sniff, did we? We never saw our gymnasts. I think Neil Thomas went closest of all, probably from kind of my growing up, my formative years watching gymnastics. But you look at the program that is in place now, and we think back to Lewis Smith and Beth Tweddle, and I think, you know, the likes of Luke Whitehouse and Jake Jarman and Jessica Gadirova and the others need to look at what Lewis Smith did and what Beth Tweddle did. And I've always said that Beth Tweddle's bronze at London 2012, I think, was one of my equal favourite medal from those games, actually with Tom Daly's bronze as well, for a very similar reason, in that both of them set into sort of a system that has been built up then initially around them, but a system that has now delivered medals over time and consistently delivering medals. And, you know, British Gymnastics are in a great place now in terms of, you know, that elite performance and what they're doing. They're an organisation that has gone through some very public and some very difficult conversations. They've been involved in some very big issues. We've covered them on this podcast, and the White Report, of course, was written about some of the big issues in gymnastics. And that's why I asked Jessica Gadirova there, does she enjoy it? Does she enjoy the pressure? Because we've heard so many athletes and so many conversations, haven't we, certainly in gymnastics and in other sports, about athletes that haven't been enjoying it. But, you know, speaking to Jessica there, she was in a free period from school. I got the message yesterday saying I'm in a free period between 10 and 11, so I'm going to go and hide somewhere and we can have a chat. I do genuinely believe that she is enjoying it, is enjoying the lifestyle, and hopefully British Gymnastics, having all this success now, are also behind the scenes, have made the changes that they needed to make around governance and safeguarding and those other big issues that have concerned the sport over previous years.
When I used to have a free period in sixth form, I used to go to the Chubby Panda, which is the local chippy. Says it all, really, doesn't it, about my sporting prowess?
I used to go to the Fisheries, which was the local pub.
I would never have been served at that age. Anyway, well done to all of British Gymnastics, as Michael rightly says, and we look ahead to Paris 2024 with great interest. So now we all know that Michael's favourite current Olympic sport is judo. It's going to be good for Team GB in Paris, so he says. Well, they've named their squad for the World Championships in May next month, but Olympic medalist Chelsea Giles, who's won a gold at a Grand Slam and a silver so far this year, is sitting this one out. Having won silver at last year's World Championships, she's chosen to miss these championships in Qatar to focus on upcoming Olympic qualification events that carry more points. Now, this is where it gets confusing, because effectively only the best results from these two World Championships, the one last year where she won a silver, and this year, count to Olympic qualification. So unless she was going to get a gold, what she's going to do is focus on where she can get more points for Olympic qualification. I told you it was complicated, but we wish her well. It sounds like the right decision. 13 judokas have been named, though. Here they are for the women. Lela Nahn, Nakoda Smythe-Davis, Lucy Renshaw, back to world number one, of course. Gemma Howell, the Birmingham 2022 silver medalist. Kelly Peterson-Pollard and Gemma Yates-Brown, both Brum bronze medalists. Natalie Powell of Wales was a silver medalist in Birmingham, with Emma Reid beating her to that gold in 2022. So that's the British women, and we have 5 British men in action. Sam Hall, the Birmingham silver medalist. Charlie Young, Lachlan Moorhead, the Commonwealth champion. Jamal Petgrave, also a 2022 gold medalist, and Harry Lovell Hewitt. It is a strong squad for those World Championships.
On to another sport that I actually absolutely love watching at the Olympic Games. Boxing and Great Britain Boxing have joined a new breakaway organisation. This is as part of a strategy to secure the sport's place on the Olympic programme. So the new name in town is World Boxing. It's been established in response to the issues surrounding the IBA, that is the International Boxing Association. The IOC, we're into all our acronyms here, that's the International Olympic Committee for the uninitiated. They banned the IBA in 2019 over governance issues and alleged corruption. So World Boxing have stepped in. They will now seek IOC recognition, but that could take up to 2 years, so it's not an immediate change. The IBA, of course, don't really want World Boxing to step in. They've described them as a rogue organisation, which is rich. Boxing could actually be missing from the 2028 Games. It's been left off the initial programme for Los Angeles. Great Britain Boxing has pulled out of the recent Women's World Championships after the IBA allowed Russia and Belarus athletes to compete. They're not going to the Men's Championships either. You'll recall that boxing in Tokyo, which was a record games for British boxers, for Team GB boxers in 2021, that was actually organised by the IOC, and it will be again in Paris in 2024. But big decisions in the world of amateur boxing if it is to stay part of the Olympic programme in the long term.
And 6 Olympic champions, Freya Anderson, Tom Dean, Anna Hopkin, James Guy, Matt Richards and Duncan Scott were all part of a 29-strong team for British swimming at the latest World Championships in Japan this summer. World Championship gold medalists James Wilby and Ben Proud are also included for Fukuoka from July 23rd. It follows the British trials at Sheffield we talked about in an earlier episode, and more coming up from Sheffield in a moment. But quickly, Michael, on this, a shame the BBC headline for swimming news was "No Adam Peaty." We all knew that he'd pulled out of the British Championships, but the headline was "No Adam Peaty." I appreciate he's a big name. He was on Strictly, a very big BBC thing, I get it. But British swimming isn't all about Peaty. Like diving isn't all about Tom Daley. Triathlon isn't all about Georgia Taylor-Brown, or gymnastics all about Max Whitlock, as we said earlier on in the podcast. For me, it's lazy or poorly informed, depending on how you want to do it. It's as bad as writing that Team GB are going to the Swimming World Championships, because they don't do that either. It's British swimming. Just a little rant about the way that sometimes our sport is covered.
Still to come, our latest news from the Games. This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic sport podcast. And stay with us, because we are going to be talking, it's not an Olympic sport, but it is recognised by the IOC, snooker next.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
This is Anything But Footy, and I've been at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield all this week. Been having a little mooch around, lots of posters for various Agatha Christie plays that are coming up. But at the moment, the focus is on the two-table setup of the World Snooker Championships. It's not an Olympic sport, as we know. It is a sport, though, that has got some recognition from the IOC. Made a tentative bid to try and get in the Games previously, but I would suggest that cue sports, billiard sports, are probably quite a long way from being in the Olympics. Certainly snooker as well. I just don't think it has that worldwide appeal at the moment. But if the Games were to go back to China, where it's in the top 10 most popular sports, and they actually in China built a replica Crucible brick by brick. So I think if the games were to return to China, the Summer Games were to return to China at some point in the future, then I wouldn't rule out maybe snooker becoming an Olympic sport. But I think that is something in the future. That's probably for the next generation of Anything But Footy presenters to talk about. Just a quick wrap up of what's been happening, though, at the Crucible. Kyron Wilson has got most of the headlines from week one for his 147 break, beating Ryan Day 10-5. Not many people have secured that maximum break at the Crucible Theatre, so Kyron has written himself into the history books there. I watched Ronnie O'Sullivan looking a little bit tentative in his first round, but he's come through, and there's a bit of a grudge match for him now against Hossein Vafai of Iran, because the two of them have endured a bit of a war of words through the press over the past sort of year or so, and they meet in the second round. Some shocks in the first round. Seeds Ali Carter, Ding Junhui and Judd Trump all going out. Impressive performance, I think, from John Higgins, who beat David Grace 10-3. And, of course, then there were the protests, the Just Stop Oil protests, interrupting the first frame of the match between Robert Milkins and Joe Perry. In the end, they did get to finish that match. The first session was abandoned, so they had to play on a Thursday morning when normally the Crucible would be quiet. Robert Milkins went 7-2 down, but won 10-9, one of the classic Crucible comebacks there for Robert Milkins, the seed. Protests, of course, have been very much a talking point of sport as we record over the past week. We saw them at Aintree with the Grand National. I understand the protests that we saw at Aintree at the Grand National, because animal rights protesters at an event where obviously, thoroughbred horses were racing over the hurdles in a huge race, and we saw, didn't we, Hill 16, a fatality at the first fence after the delays. I don't understand the protests at the snooker other than Just Stop Oil know that it gets huge audiences and they got huge coverage for it, and I'm sure we'll discuss this later, but obviously with the London Marathon now just around the corner, there are, I think, concerns and question marks around trying to secure 26.2 miles of London.
It's unlikely that they would be able to do that. We know, as we talked about in the last podcast and the last episode, our London Marathon special, that they are working very closely with Metropolitan Police to make sure that happened. And of course, 10 years ago, it was the Boston bomb, which obviously created fatalities, which is a lot worse than even a protest. And I remember covering the London Marathon that year in 2013, and the amount of security was increased as well. You wish that it all goes to plan. It looks like the main conversations have been taking place, and well done to Hugh Brasher, who we spoke to on the podcast in the last episode, who's having conversations with people. As we've learned so many times, Michael, if you don't talk to people, you can't get things done. So it's good that he's talking to Extinction Rebellion. It seems like they don't want to interfere. Just Stop Oil, well, it is one of those things, as you rightly say. They get a lot of publicity for what they do, whether you agree with it or not. But it was incredible scenes at the Crucible, something I've never seen in my entire life. And having been there before, I think it does raise question marks. Having been in the audience myself, you can literally lean over and touch the players. Now, that is an incredible thing. But in today's day and age, is that something that can be allowed to happen or can be allowed to continue? And I think going forward, that is a question that World Snooker will have to ask themselves. A quick quiz question for you, Michael, if I may, because I noticed that you tweeted how many people scored a 147. And I was amazed that there wasn't that many at the Crucible.
30 dozen.
How many is there?
It's a dirty dozen, isn't it? I'll run through them for you. Cliff Thorburn. Remember that one? Jack Carnham on the commentary. Good luck, mate, against Terry Griffiths in the second round in 1983. Then we had to wait for Jimmy White in 92. Stephen Hendry's done it in 95, 2009 and 2012. Ronnie's done it, one of them taking just 5 minutes, 1997, 2003 and 2008. Mark Williams in 2005, Ali Carter in 2008, John Higgins 2020, Neil Robertson last year, and now you can add Kyron Wilson to it this year as well. So there you go. I've seen interruptions at the Crucible for insects. Saw a pigeon last year. I remember at the 97 Masters final there was a streaker. But yeah, the orange powder paint on the table was something new. And, I think, as you say, the more serious questions about this is just the ongoing security. And I've been back to the Crucible since the protest, and there were more bag searches, much more heavier security presence around. So World Snooker obviously making immediate moves to try and prevent anything like this happening again.
Well, enjoy the rest of the Crucible and the World Championships going through, of course, until the May bank holiday, although there are 3 bank holidays in May, so is it lasting all month? No, it's just the first one, don't you worry. Enjoy that, Michael, and some great coverage, as per usual, from your good self on Talk Sport. Now, on to our news from the Games, other news from the Games, and boundless opportunities for growth. The words of new British cycling CEO John Dutton, who takes over later this month. He's the 3rd CEO in his many years in Manchester, as you'll know from our Great British Bosses series, and I think now we've actually interviewed all 3 of them. I hope that's not an omen for John. Anyway, he's an experienced leader in sport, having just delivered the brilliant Rugby League World Cup in England at the end of 2022. He's also a keen cyclist and sits on the board of the Glasgow 2023 World Cycling Championships. So it looks like he ticks all boxes for British cycling. Good luck to him.
In the world of canoeing, British Canoeing have announced their 2023 kayak and slalom teams after some trials at Lee Valley and the Canoe Centre there. They have named 12 in the squad. I won't run through them all, but they include Mallory Franklin, Olympic medalist in Tokyo, Joe Clark, Rio gold medalist, and Olympians Adam Burgess and Kimberly Woods also selected. The Lee Valley will host the Canoe Slalom World Championships in September. First time it's been back to the venue since 2015.
And usually, Michael, canoeing are one of the first to announce for Team GB, aren't they, towards the beginning of next year. So this is a crucial team that they've selected.
Yep, and crucial, I think, obviously, for Joe Clark, who, as we know, 2016 gold medalist, 2020, 2021, didn't make it. So, trying to get there, obviously, possibly thought about maybe stepping back, stepping down, but, wants to return and wants to get his hands on a medal again.
Now, modern pentathlon may be losing the riding discipline for the obstacle course after Paris 2024 in a bid to stay in the Olympic movement, but that didn't help British Olympic champion Joseph Trong, who was in action at the weekend. He was eliminated during that riding stage in the latest World Cup event in Ankara.
British athletics. They're in a bit of a mess at the minute, aren't they?
Where to start?
Yeah, well, Matt Lawton at the Times has been leading this one. Coaches not being paid for a number of months. The small matter that they are on the brink of bankruptcy, perhaps. They're in talks with UK Sport about maybe some emergency funding. And UK Athletics released a statement saying they're currently putting in place packages to support coaches to 2024. I think on the track and in the field, we've got reasons to be cheerful as we head towards Budapest and the World Championships in 2023 and the Olympics in 2024. We know the names: Jake Whiteman, Dina Asher-Smith, Laura Muir, Katarina Johnson-Thompson, Keely Hodgkinson. But I think behind them, the CEO, Jack Buckner, who has come from swimming, of course, who's in talks about the funding and has taken on a big job here, took over from Joanna Coates. I mean, he's got a huge job. There's so many problems, I think, with British athletics at the minute. And the two that I would highlight, obviously, is the loss of their main keynote sponsor and obviously the commercial implications of that with Muller stepping down. And the broadcast deal as well used to be worth, as I understand it, around £3 million with the BBC. That was allowed to run out. And whilst the BBC have sort of announced that they are going to show some track and field British athletics meetings this year, including the Diamond League, they did a couple of indoor meetings as well, and we'll have the UK Championships on BBC platforms this year. Certainly not at the level in terms of funding as that TV deal was before. I mean, the events are causing issues as well. Obviously, you've got ongoing problems with the London Stadium as well. There is going to be a Diamond League meeting there this year. A healthy 33,000 tickets have been sold, but that event could still run at a loss. Jack Buckner has had so much success with British Swimming, and I think slightly differently there. The organisation, obviously British Swimming, are only really concerned with elite athletes and getting them to the Olympics and the Paralympic Games, whereas British Athletics has got a much bigger remit. We've spoken to him on Great British Bosses when he was at Loughborough with British Swimming, of course. We knew when we spoke to him then that his passion was always athletics. That was his sport. So it was no surprise he took the job on. But when he probably got there and looked at what was in his inbox, I wonder whether he slightly regrets it now.
Also, I think the really good article from Matt Lawton, as you're absolutely rightly say, but the Netflix argument about, let's do a Drive to Survive type documentary behind the scenes, etc. The issue is, and I can see why the BBC have turned it down, is, well, it's already happened. They've done it. yes, it was very popular for Formula One and it worked for them in a time where people were getting access that when they weren't seeing it before, but it didn't really work for the tennis. In the last few months, I think Amazon did something similar with tennis and it didn't quite work. Same with golf as well. We need a new idea. You need to be able to go to the BBC and say, look, here is something that you can spend millions on and it will be beneficial to you and it will be beneficial to us. And I think ultimately they need to come up with a new idea. And that, as we well know in broadcasting and things, is sometimes there isn't a brand new idea. It's about rewinding and going back and looking at how we might have done it in the past. But we wish, obviously, Jack all the best and all at British Athletics, as you say, going through certainly a very difficult period at the moment.
I would just add to that, actually, that, I think we need to think, as much as we've spoken there about some of the big issues around British Athletics, we need to remember, obviously, there's 50-odd people employed there. There's a number of athletes as well, and they will all have their own concerns and worries about, their jobs, their employment, their future at the moment. And, on a personal level, people that we know, people that we've worked very closely with, I think we have to say that, we are thinking about them and keeping everything crossed that, a route can be found through, because as we said, at the heart of it is at the moment a very good bunch of athletes who should deliver medals.
Yeah, and London 2017 was put on by British Athletics. The World Championships was one of the greatest championships that you and I had the pleasure of covering, and we've been to London 2012 and we went to Rio as well, and London 2017 was a remarkable thing. But I entirely agree with everything that you just said, Michael. Now, we are less than 500 days to go to the Paris Paralympics, the first ever Paralympic Games to be held in France. Organisers have reiterated their intention for it to be a moment of great celebration and festivity for the masses. We're also delighted to let you know that we'll be heading to Paris 2024 and covering the Olympic Games as well. The third time Paris has staged them, following on from 1900 and 1924. See, that's them phoning you right now, Michael, saying, are you going to come and get this accreditation? We'll be making sure you're across all things Team GB and other Olympic headlines throughout, of course, and all via the Anything But Footy podcast. And Michael will be on TalkSport as well.
Yes, we are going to Paris, but our conversation about how we're getting there was vastly different. I'm talking about going as a foot passenger on the ferry. You're talking about using your points to fly. So we'll be there. We might just get there in slightly different ways.
Yeah, we are going to the Olympics, which is good considering, that's the aim of the podcast as well.
Let's finish by just recapping a little bit of London Marathon news for you ahead of the event. Remember, you can still listen to our London Marathon special. But Mo Farah, of course, is going to be top of the bill for many people at the race. He has confirmed at the time of recording just a couple of hours ago, it will be his last marathon, but he may still compete in one or two more races. On the subject of protest, he said you've just got to trust the organisers, and he said that as an athlete, all you can do is control your controllables, a phrase that we hear a lot in elite sport. Just concentrate on your own race and hope that all the measures put in around you work. So good luck to Mo, and good luck to the 34,999 others that will be pounding the streets of London. We are looking forward to being there with you, but not running.
As ever, you can get in touch anytime at Anything But F on Twitter, Anything But Footy on Insta or Facebook. You've got our website, anythingbutfooty.com, or email anythingbutfooty@gmail.com.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Spring? Is that you? Warmer temps mean new Allbirds styles. Meet the Superlight Collection, the lightest ever shoes from Allbirds, now in fresh colors. These must-have travel shoes have a lighter-than-air feel and a barely-there fit that made them the most packable shoes ever. Plus, they're comfy right out of the box. That means more comfort and less baggage. Experience how Allbirds is redefining comfort. Visit allbirds.com and use code SUPER24 for a free pair of socks with a purchase of $48 or more. That's ALLBIRDS.com, code SUPER24.